Hello and welcome to I Can't Believe It's Not the Mouse, the podcast all about animation not made by the mouse. I'm your host, Octaviano, and today it's going to be another episode where I'm just talking about a subject. It's not a specific movie or a show. I'm just here to talk about one specific thing, and that's right-wing cartoon. Before we get started, I just want to say, if you're listening to this on YouTube, go ahead and give it a like, subscribe to the channel, feel free to comment, and ring the bell for notifications. Also, if you're on Spotify or just any other podcast site, follow this show on those platforms. So, right-wing cartoons. I just want to make it clear that I am not going to be going deep into politics. It's not that I don't care for politics. I think it's all very important. I think it's good to be political, but this ain't that kind of show. I feel like a lot of people overdo it in terms of, like, not so much in terms of, like, oh, we add too much politics. In terms of discussions around it, I feel like some people forget that, like, okay, well, it's still a piece of art, and while, yes, you should support things that don't have shitty politics. At the end of the day, there's no escaping something that will have good and bad politics. People are different. People, come in all, kinds of beliefs. So sometimes a person might have a really good thing on politics where, like, okay, they have a stance on something that is like, yeah, that I support that. But then they have a stance on something else there where I'm like, I don't support that. Very complicated stuff. It's not just simple, like, okay, this is good politics, this is bad politics. People, like I said, are very complex. There's some people on the left who have some very bad politics on some things, and there's some people on the right who might have a decent thing on a certain aspect. I don't know. I when it comes to right wingers, I rarely see the good, but I'm not saying it's not possible. There is a chance that they might have at least one or two things, if not more, where they're like, okay, well, yeah, you're kind of a decent human being in this part. Great, you believe in gun control. Not a lot of you who do, but, there you go. I already know I got a lot of right-wingers who are going to be mad about that, but whatever, I don't care. So why talk about shows about right-wingers? And look, I'll be honest, it's not even that I'm talking about shows that are about the right, because technically speaking, yeah, I could be here talking about King of the Hill, a show that is focused on a conservative character, and to be fair with King of the Hill, it is all about him learning to be a better person, learning from the people in the world around him. So it's not like it's just, here's a right winger who's always right. And I think that's the major difference between something like King of the Hill and what I call the right-winger cartoons. These are the cartoons that have popped up recently that you have stuff like the Daily Wire or whatever. Pretty much the people who are like, oh yeah, we're anti-woke. This is what we're trying to do. Because, again, you can go at anything and say, like, well, that's a right-wing thing. If you go solely on the basis of, like, okay, well, this character is conservative, or in some cases, like, they have politics that you don't agree with, like something like South Park, which I have my issues with, but that, could easily be considered a right-wing cartoon because of all the stuff that they do and say, and the stuff that aligns with, like, the right wing, and the fact that the creator said that they were Republican. Don't know how serious they were about that, but whatever. At the end of the day, you get these shows, and it's like, well, yeah, but then you look at the content of it, and it's like, well, some of it is left, and some of it is all about learning to be better people, and that's pretty much what differentiates them from your Mr. Bircham or your, I don't know what the chinchilla one is, chipchilla, whatever. Look, as I'm recording this, Twitter put out a clip for something called I don't know what the hell the show was called. I don't even care. I gave up halfway into the clip that they released because I was like, I don't fucking care. But it was like they were touting it as like the South Park of X because it's going to be offensive and it's offending everyone. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, I mean, you're certainly saying that the right is right. I don't know about it being offensive. I mean, yeah, it's technically insulting things that people who don't deserve to be punched down, but I mean, let's be real here. You punching down on people that don't deserve it doesn't really mean much when your jokes are shit. And I want to say that that's the big difference between something like South Park to this South Park of Twitter, Mr. Bertram, or whatever right wing bullshit cartoon that's coming out, where it's like, yeah, I mean, South Park is at the end of the day offensive, and there's a lot of things I don't like about South Park. But you know what? At the end of the day, they are telling jokes. That is the big difference between South Park to everything else I've seen coming from these things. And this is not supposed to be me saying like, oh yeah, South Park is perfect or anything like that. I don't really like South Park anymore. I did a whole episode talking about one of the specials where I'm like, yeah, I don't watch it all that much anymore. And you know, even though I don't watch it, there is stuff that I do enjoy from it. But it's pretty much like, yeah, like all these right wing cartoons that come out is like every time they advertise it, and maybe they're different, maybe they're not what they're being sold as, but everything I've heard about them, everything I've seen about them, it's showing that. And fine, maybe I'm in the wrong for not wanting to support it, but I'm like, look, these are, you know, watching these is not the same as watching something that's on cable or network TV or whatever. This is something where I had to pay strictly through some streaming service to actually support and watch, and I'm not going to be doing that just to see whether or not something is good, because I'm like, well, if it's being funded by these Republicans, being funded by the people who normally spread this hate, is like, even if it's decent, it's not even worth it because it's going to be used to fund more of that hate. And again, just by looking at the clips of like Mr. Bertram, honestly, I've been saying that multiple times and I'm not even sure if that's even the right name. It's the Adam Carolla cartoon, whatever. The whole time I'm thinking like, this looks horrible. It doesn't even look funny. It's just low tier Family Guy stuff. And you know, speaking of another show that is supposed to be offensive, like, yeah, Family Guy is offensive. Guess what? They still write in actual jokes. It's not just, hey, we think this thing sucks, so we're gonna say this thing sucks and then make up this random caricature of what we think these people are like. You know, when it comes to whether it's Family Guy or South Park or whoever, when it comes to their eventual jokes, it's like, look, I don't want to say that it's rooted in truth, but it's at least rooted in some experience that is like, well, yeah, you know, some people have said this or some people have said that. It's not just, oh, we hate this, so we created this wild caricature. Like, you know, looking at, you know, like with Family Guy, like, just so I can use one where I know, you know, you have Consuelo the maid, who is offensive to Mexicans, and yeah, I think the character's offensive, but I also think the character's funny. I can't deny that. I sometimes get some laughs, sometimes it kind of falls, but I'm like, well, yeah, you know, I've seen the Mexican maid who is bad at English, or, you know, her just being uncaring and cleaning and whatnot, and, you know, I've seen that before. So there is a joke there, and even if, you know, Consuela isn't an actual person, it's at least still rooted in some kind of truth and a joke, in a way where I'm like, yeah, you know, it's offensive, but, you know, some of that makes me laugh, and even if it doesn't, at least I kind of understand, you know, what they were trying to get at with these shows that these right wingers are making. It's just like, well, you know, here's a non-binary person who is saying that they have these fictional pronouns that have never been used before. They'll be like, oh, you know, I find, you know, certain things offensive. That, again, it's like, no one's said this. Like, where is this coming from? Like, who are you really representing in this scenario? It's like you just took a person who said like, okay, my pronouns are they, them, and decided like, okay, well, let's exaggerate it to an extreme and say that their pronouns are Justice and League. I'm looking at the Justice League thing that's right over here, but it's like, you know, who are you basing this joke on? And even if there is some truth to this, the difference is that all you Republicans say this joke or a variation of this joke so much to a point that I'm like, I fucking don't care. This is such a boring, lame joke, and you guys are not doing anything special. And then that's the thing. It's like, these are not jokes. They're not. I mean, they're offensive, but it's not like offensive like in terms of a way where I'm like, well, I'm mad. I don't think anyone who is calling these these shows out are really mad at it in terms of a way of like, oh, I'm offended, because you already know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get these people shit talking you. You're gonna get these people shit talking other people that are already being badly treated in the world. Uh, no one out here is gonna be like, oh man, the South Park of X made me feel bad as a minority or whatever. Like, no, it's like, well, yeah, we know it. You guys are gonna be saying offensive things just to try to be funny. We know that you're gonna have your white character with a black friend just to be like, oh, see, they're not really racist. You're the real racist for assuming that they can't interact with non-white people. Which I'm like, yeah, perfectly great for you. You made your white character have a black friend as a shield. I don't know, man. It's just I see these things and I'm like, I mean, I know who they're made for, but it's like, really, realistically, who are they made for? The craziest thing is that you got these people like, oh man, you liberals can't enjoy anything made by the right or whatever, and that's like, dude, we've been enjoying stuff made by essentially right-wing people for decades, especially because a lot of these older things that are considered classics are probably right-wing in modern day. We don't have this issue where it's like, oh, the second we hear a right-wing person made it, or it's supposed to be right-wing, it's bad. Like, we don't have that. I think this is really just a thing that you guys keep on inventing in a way to project your own things with you. Because the second you hear like something's left, or like, oh, this is bad, oh, it's woke, it's bad, oh, there's a lesbian in there, it's bad, oh, there's a non-white person that's deleted, it's bad. Like, you guys do this all the time. You're offended by everything, and yet you're here trying to be like, oh yeah, we're making a show that'll offend everyone. Like, dude, you can't even offend us. Two, the reason why your shit falls flat isn't because like, oh, people are offended by it. It's because you're trying to be offensive while being the most offended little wimps in the world. Look, I don't want to make it sound like I'm just trying to shit on a whole group of people, but I mean, these people kind of deserve to be shitted on, especially because this is the stuff they produce. And again, it's like, look, I get it. People are complicated. There's some people who I know that seem to lean more right, but at the end of the day, have positive aspects to them, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, you actually care about these people and whatnot. Yeah, there's certain people that I'm like, yeah, at a certain point, I can't really support you. Um, you know, if you support a certain politician, I will always side eye you, even if there's some decent things about you. But I'm more or less just talking about the people who are like, okay, well, some of their beliefs would skew in the right in terms of, you know, how we consider it. But they at least know, like, yeah, this politician out here is a dumbass or stuff like that. Like, yeah, that I can agree with. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say like, oh yeah, if this person believes that these people should be dead, or this minority group shouldn't exist, I'll be okay with them so long as they're decent in other ways. Like, no, man, there are the limits. But people over exaggerate how far the limits are. Like, it's not gonna be like, oh well, um, you're a gun supporting NRA guy or whatever. Oh, I don't like you. It's like, no, I mean, I'm like, yeah, I'm in gun control, like, to be a thing. I want more gun control, and I'm, to be fair, I'm not really a person who would want to want to have a bunch of guns, but I'm not gonna criticize someone who likes guns, as long as they're decent enough people. I don't know. I feel like there's some people who are they're still gonna twist what I say, because there's only so many ways I can say it on here before realizing like, oh shit, I should have said it this way, and this is what I really meant. But time is short, and I have to shorten down what I'm feeling. But at the end of the day, good person, good person. Um, there might be some aspects that I disagree with, but as long as they're not, you know, doing something that's really harmful to others or whatever, then I'll probably be okay with them. And that's pretty much the thing with when it comes to these like right wing cartoons. Is like, they're just horrible people who just believe in horrible shit that they already spout and are always assuming that they're already in the right. Right wingers, whatever. So oftentimes I see these things that are like, well, they don't really grow as people. They just grow in a way that makes them feel more right and more vindicated over their bullshit. Again, with King of the Hill, it's like, part of the appeal was that Hank Hill was often in the wrong in that show and would actually learn, hey, this is how the world is like. And even if there was times where maybe, he wasn't, wrong, it wasn't over something that like, oh yeah, Hank Hill is a racist and that's okay. Or Hank Hill being anti-PC comedy or whatever makes him, better than whatever. Well, whatever. I don't know what people want to say it now. It's about a person becoming more decent. That's the charm. If it were like a right-wing cartoon, like these that I'm talking about, Hank Hill would be more like Cotton Hill, and even then he'd be like Cotton Hill without any of the growth. Because even Cotton Hill, Hank Hill's father, would have his moments of realization despite being a piece of shit. Which again, that's what it is. But like imagine if that, but without any of the progress that the character made. Like, he's still racist, still bigoted, still sexist, all that stuff. Dude, maybe this is not the way to be. I don't know. These things are horrible for a lot of reasons. I really only talk about it because I didn't really know what to talk about this week, and I had been struggling. And after I saw that clip, I was just like, the whole South Park of X thing. I was just like, why do all these right-wing cartoons do this stuff, Like, why do they just obsessively try to tear everyone else down and then act like that means that they're edgy and offensive and they're the real comedy and whatnot? And it's like, dude, no, you suck. You suck. That's all there is to it. You're not good comedy, and it's not because I don't agree with your politics. It's because you're not even trying to be funny. You're just doing this thing where you're insulting other people without an actual joke, or if there is some kind of joke, it's a joke that has been said so many times that it no longer feels like a joke. Get better material, or better yet, stop letting right-wingers make their own cartoons if they're going to be this bad at it. Especially if they're in that right-wing is always right and left-wing is always wrong mentality. Honestly, after a lot of, looking at it, you guys are the ones that tend to hate everything from the opposite side more than, left-wingers do. And I even saying that left-wingers are perfect. They have their problems too. We have our problems. But I'm not the one that is always, I'm not going to be the one coming in saying like, oh yeah, the opposite side is, completely wrong or stupid or whatever. Even though a lot of the time you are. Thanks for listening to this rant. Honestly, hopefully next week I can think of a better episode to work on, because I just don't really enjoy talking about things that I don't have plans to watch, but only do so because it's like, well, it's prevalent, so I gotta talk about it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. Go ahead and follow this channel. Subscribe, like, and comment. Ring the bell for notifications. Go ahead and also follow my podcast and give some love to my Patreon account while you're at it. It's www.patreon.com/saicams. Again, thanks for stopping by, and I hope you come back for more in the future.